Now let's look at this story. The British teenager missing in Tenerife. This is a tragic story, and you know we all, with all of these kind of stories that come around once in a while, you hope and pray that this will have a good ending. It was his first holiday with his mates, his mum said. Debbie Duncan's 19-year-old son, Jay Slater, from Lancashire, went missing on Monday. He'd gone to the Canary Islands. Let's get some detail on this. Talk International presenter Maddie Hale is with us. When anybody goes missing, Maddie, it's disturbing. This is a 19-year-old. Tell us about the circumstances, tell us what happened and what we now know.
Well, yeah, so as you've said, this is his first holiday with his friends. He's only 19. His mum says that she encouraged him to go on this holiday with two mates, Lucy and Brad. He went to a big rave festival in Tenerife. Basically, it was from Friday through Sunday. He was out Sunday night, and he said to his two friends, I'm going to go home with these two guys, British men I've just met. The two friends said, oh, can you stay with us? Like, we don't even know these people. He said, no, I'm going to go home with them. And basically, he apparently went in a car for an hour to a little bit outside of the area, which was like, it was about an 11-hour walk back to his hotel. Stayed in this house for a bit, this Airbnb with these two guys. He was then spotted in the early hours of the morning asking a local woman how to get home, if the bus was running. She said the bus will be running in 2 hours. Basically, you have to wait for 2 hours. And then she spotted him 15 minutes later walking up kind of into this like mountain national park. And it's been described as like a very rocky terrain, not a great area because you can get lost in it.
Yeah.
So at 8:50 a.m, this is the last anyone's heard of him. He called his mate Lucy to say he's lost. He's cut his leg on a cactus. He's really thirsty. He only has 1% battery. The phone died. That's the last anyone's ever heard from him.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and I heard one of the friends say that the area it was, wherever you look, there's just mountain from mountain to mountain. You can't, almost you can't identify anything. It's that sort of terrain. Yeah.
So he basically just decided, look, I'm going to make the walk home. I think he said to Lucy, I'm just going to walk back. I can't be bothered to wait. 11 hours. She has spoken to the mum, Debbie, and Lucy have both spoken to various media outlets, mostly print. The mum, Debbie, thinks that this is a kidnapping situation. The reason being is that she's had a few cryptic text messages and phone calls from people. Now, we don't know if that's just, you know, a few freaks capitalising on the fact that her son has gone missing. She got a WhatsApp text from someone saying, kiss goodbye to your boy, you're never going to see him again.
The mother
and calls, could you imagine?
And unless there is, I mean, you said that it seems like the police aren't, that's not their central lead. It could just be hoaxers. And that would be just a horrendous thing to do if you go to jail for a long time for that kind of stuff. But in a weird way, you sort of hope that it is somebody who's got this kid, but are not harming him, and there is a potential to get him back.
Yeah, and they've described him as very street smart, and this is very out of character, very suspicious for him to have, you know, walked off by himself. And the things that Lucy, his best mate, says that she doesn't understand why he wouldn't have used his, you know, sense that she knows he has to just wait at one of the restaurants where he walked past and wait for them to open so that he could charge his phone. But he could have been just desperate to get back.
Presumably they've ruled out anything of the two guys he clearly carried on drinking or something like that.
The two guys have already flown back to wherever they're from. I know that they're British, but I don't know where they live. She says that one of the reasons why she's criticising Spanish police is that these two guys, these eyewitnesses, are already back wherever they're from.
Yeah.
They didn't get asked to stay.
Did they get talked to at all? Do we know?
I think so, but Lucy also tracked down the Airbnb and went there herself.
Yeah.
They said to her that he left in the morning to get cigarettes, that's spotted here about 7:38. He left the Airbnb and was wandering around, and that's where that local woman saw him around 8 a.m. Kind of looking about how to get home. So he had actually left the Airbnb. And then at 8:50 a.m. is when he made that phone call to Lucy to say he's lost, doesn't have any phone battery. So within that space, he had actually left the Airbnb.
But he'd had opportunities in that time, passing restaurants, or he could have got some water, he could have you know, maybe, as you say, waited to charge his phone. But here's the thing. I mean, human behaviour works in interesting forms. I mean, at that point, he might have been thinking, I'm so desperate to get home, it's going to be worth the walk.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people have got into difficulties because they've thought it might be 4 in the morning, but I'm going to give it a go. At least I'll be in bed by 6 or something. Seems like a long way to... It could be as simple as that, and sadly he's got into difficulties and got lost. And obviously there will be concern 5 days later almost as to where he is. Or it's something a little more suspicious involving those phone calls. But it's going to be, again, everybody will have a theory on this, and I imagine the Facebook group might be helpful in one respect, but you are clearly going to get armchair detectives who are spewing a gazillion theories. We had it, you know, when the mother went missing, who was found in a river in this country.
Oh yeah, that's what. Yeah.
You know, that we have people turning up at the scene, so you know, with ideas of what they thought had happened. And
I think especially after Dr. Michael, his last name escapes me, Mosley, but after his obviously tragic, you know.
Yes, well, it has a similar sort of, you know, going walking in the hills.
Exactly.
In a hot country.
Yeah. And it just, you wouldn't. I mean, you wouldn't wish upon your worst enemy.
Of course
for,
you wouldn't.
For the mother.
And the fear of the mother and the family and the friends must be absolutely huge. And although you mentioned the temperature potentially at night going down to 1 degree, I'm going to take a punt here, but I think the weather in the daytime in this area is pretty darn hot at the moment.
Yeah, it is. But regardless, he is still in shorts and a t-shirt, even if it got down to, you know, 12, 13 degrees. It's obviously cold to be walking around at night.
And this often happens when you're dealing with a foreign police force. And we saw it happen in Portugal with a very high-profile case of a missing child, that there was a sense that the police were not as forthcoming with evidence. Now, some say, well, that's because we're so used to police here, similarly in Australia and whatever, who, you know, will give a press conference and they'll come right out with it and they'll give an update. Not every police service works in that way, and clearly the Spanish don't either.
And it does get a lot more complicated when you've got the home country police operating an investigation with the interference of whatever nationality is of a missing case, or if it may be a crime scene or whatever we saw. I mean, it was a big part of the Bali bombing story when, you know, the Australian police went over to help the Balinese government and police, and how that was just, it's an uncomfortable process when you've got too many countries involved, but of course, you know, we hope it's a good outcome.
Well, of course we do, and we hope that Jay Slater is found, and clearly, you know, he will be in some respect in a state of shock or in a state of, you know, physical difficulty, and if he's managed to survive the terrain or whatever experience he's under, and we just hope that is the outcome, and maybe over the coming day or so we might get an update from the police, even though they haven't been particularly fluent with that.
We hope at least from the family.
Listen, Maddie, thank you.
Thank you.
Maddie Hale, Talks International presenter, with us here on the programme.